Hi everybody, this is Kent Larsen and
Andy Legg.
we're sitting here in Cedar Falls in the man cave. Extremely amateur way to shoot a video, but we both recently got involved in cryptocurrency or blockchain currency, and we just wanted to highlight that with you, where it came from, what it means, what it potentially can do for the economy. And first off, back in January of 2009, a gentleman that used a fake name, his last name is Nakamoto, invented blockchain currency, and he called it Bitcoin. And he started to mine Bitcoin right away, finding the currency and giving it value. It started off about 50 cents. Right now, today, it's at 17,800.
It jumped.
Right,
17.7.
right before we started this video. And a lot of you ask questions. You're afraid of Bitcoin. You're intimidated by it. Well, we want to just tell you what it's all about. Blockchain, Bitcoin, there's other cryptocurrencies. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are unlimited in supply. Some of them, the majority of them, have a finite amount of them put together. And what do I mean by finite? Finite means there's a limited supply. This is it. We're not going to make any more. And that was what was so unique about Bitcoin versus the US dollar. Why don't you tell them about the US dollar?
So 1971, the US dollar went away from the gold standard, which again was finite. And it was a limited supply. They were using it off of the gold standard, and they went to a fiat type currency. And at that point, basically, it gave the ability for the U.S. mints to be able to print as much money as they wanted to, based on the faith of the people of the country.
Correct. So in 2009, we had this huge meltdown of the banks in America that spread throughout the world because of what happened, the way that was set up. So everyone lost. Basically belief in fiat money, and the cryptocurrency came out. So the nice thing about blockchain cryptocurrency is that it can be sent to someone instantaneously at the lowest possible amount of processing that transaction.
Right.
I know from living in Turkey where I would have to go to a bank and swap US dollars for the Turkish lira, and the door needs to be closed on that. But anyway, so there would always be an exchange fee for that, and it would cost me quite a bit of money. And at the time, the Turkish lira was just in hyperinflation, so they would charge me even more money because they wanted to get the US dollars in their hands. So now, let's just talk about, people are always like, how do I buy Bitcoin? I've got to spend $17,800 to do this.
Right, it's expensive to buy
an
entire share of Bitcoin. The price I just pulled up was $17,750 even right now. That's up 4.2% from yesterday. So
December 12th.
15. Yeah, so yesterday was December the 11th. Today's the 12th. It went up $715.06 just in less than a 24-hour period. So it is currently on the rise, especially with futures that just started trading yesterday. It went from about 15.4 to where it is today at 17.75. So
and Wall Street is also creating their own identifier for this, so you can actually not only do futures, but you can do it on Wall Street. And because the value has gotten up so much, it's such an accepted form of currency. Bill Gates, the guy in Omaha, Warren Buffett, just about everybody you know, the gentleman that owns Virgin Airlines, etc. They all believe in cryptocurrency.
Absolutely.
Why don't you do me a favor and shut the door while I talk to you real quick. We've got kids here. We're family oriented. What can I tell you? So we're going to cut down the background noise. So that said, you can actually buy Bitcoin in fractions. You go up to these Bitcoin or cryptocurrency blockchain wallets. One's called Coinbase, and you create an account there. Then you verify your identity. They want to make sure you're not from some money laundering group like ISIS or
whatever it may be.
And
there's a number of them out there.
They verify your accounts, like you can load money up from your banking account, which gives you the ability to load quite a large amount. You can attach a debit card from either your credit union, your bank, or you can attach a credit card.
Right, a credit card will work too.
And you move money up into that. You can also move money down to some of these items. If you sell Bitcoin, you want to cash out. Now, when we get up on Coinbase, what can we do on Coinbase?
Coinbase gives you the ability to load up, like you talked about, a wallet. So basically, if you want to transfer that money into Coinbase, but let's say you wanted to use another source, for instance, USI Tech, which we're going to talk about pretty extensively here, that we currently use. Well, for you to use that, you have to use a wallet to be able to transport that money, or transport the money from your account into the USI Tech account that we're going to talk about here in a few. The big takeaways there are the wallets that you have available. Coinbase in particular has been around for a long time. Anybody who's familiar with Bitcoin is probably familiar with Coinbase. It is really a popular app. A lot of guys use it. They can trade right from Coinbase
on your phone.
On your phone, which is nice. And actually, that's exactly what I was doing here. I was pulling up the numbers on a number of the different types of cryptocurrencies out there. Three that come to mind here. They talk about, for instance, Bitcoin's the top one. Obviously, that's the most popular out there. Ethereum is also on there, and then Litecoin, which is gaining some ground. Litecoin is, and but it's very stable. Bitcoin is probably the most stable, I think, out of them all.
Right. And you can use Bitcoin to buy airplane tickets.
That's right. Yeah.
Amazon is starting to take it. I mean, all
Right.
these major retailers, hotels, restaurants, coffee shops are taking it. Depends upon where you live. It's also available by ATM, mainly overseas. But USI Tech is bringing in their Bitcoin ATMs here the first of the year.
Well, there's actually I
there's
looked
one in
it up.
Atlanta.
Actually, I just looked it up yesterday, and Cedar Falls has 3 Bitcoin capable ATMs. Which is really interesting, and you can put money into it if you have a and I forget the exact name of the ATM company. I should look that up here in a little bit.
Sure.
But there is 3 capable ATMs just in Cedar Falls, which was kind of interesting to me.
Town of 35,000 people in northern Iowa.
Relatively small town. When school's out, it drops 10,000 people, so that's something to think about. But I know in Philadelphia, there is a number of them. Southern California, there's a ton in California. Pretty much everywhere you go now, in every major city, there's some sort of Bitcoin ATM. Chicago, I was looking at Chicago's, I found a website on the internet that talked about all the different ATMs that you had all over the world, and I just zoomed in on the Midwest, and Chicago's flooded with them.
So, hey, it's not unheard of, you just haven't heard of it.
Right.
And we're trying to limit this video to 10 minutes, so we're only got a little over 2 minutes to finish this up, so we'll just give you some highlights. When you go to like Coinbase, you want to buy Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency you want, there are always fees. You got to understand that. There's a fee to move the money up, there's a fee to move the money into the Bitcoin, and then to cash out.
Yeah.
All right? One of the biggest expenses of Bitcoin is the mining thing, so let's talk about that.
Right.
24/7, there are these little computers about this big that have hardware inside of them that consume tremendous amounts of energy.
Right, they do. It takes a lot of energy to work them. There's a number of people that if just Google it a little bit, you can find the information on it. It does take a tremendous amount of energy, and that is essentially where all the cost is derived from in Bitcoin mining, because it costs to run the grid, it costs to run the computer itself, and the heat that's generated from the computers is astronomical too. So the total cost in mining becoming a really expensive process is essentially all from the electricity that's generating and the amount of energy that has to be pulled into those computers.
Now, there are different platforms that are doing the mining, and the company that we're focusing on with you today is called USI Tech. They actually own a patent on a new hydrogen-based electroconverter, and they dropped their cost of their energy to 10% of that of everybody else.
Right.
They've only been mining for 14 months now, and they own 1% of the Bitcoin that's out there.
And the way I understand it with the generator, it essentially takes the heat that's produced from those computers and uses the heat to generate power, and then the power is put back into the computers. So essentially, it's just a cycle like a normal generator would work, and it essentially takes the cost to nothing.
It's running itself.
Almost nothing. Yeah, it's essentially running itself. And that's why USI Tech as a company is a pretty stable company to get involved with and to and to learn about him.
Yep. And real quick,